Hi everybody, it's following day, doing a bit more on the trail bike today, so I thought I'd just do a mock-up test fit of the seat, the tank and the side covers, and yeah, it's not looking too bad. A couple of little things I've got to tweak here and there, but it's getting there. So give you a look at it from the side. Now I haven't got any of the bushes and things in the tank where the bolts go, so it's just a real quick mock-up. None of the little rubber bushes are under here, so that plate's just being held in with this rusty old bolt. But yeah, I had to I found out that I had to sort of modify the plate here a little bit to go around the frame, because I believe this is off a YZ80E, not a D. So it's got the factory bracket there, which is a nice match up with the plate. But yeah, it was just clipping the frame here, and I was clipping the plate a little bit at the front. So I've given that a nice little trim up, and there's clearance. There will be, once the rubber goes on onto the pin up the top there, and that slides on, there'll be clearance there, so it won't rub. This one looks like it's sitting a little further under, which it is, but it has to come. It will come out a little bit when the rubbers go onto the pins, because it's sitting hard up now against the plate, but it'll centralize itself, so it will come out. It'll come out a little bit like that. I don't know if that looks any better, but you can see when I let it go, it goes back in, so that'll sit out a little bit. And with this one, as I said, this one looks like it's sitting out a bit, and it is, because the bracket that I've got in here for the exhaust to clamp to, it's hitting that, but I don't want to touch that at the moment. I want to get the exhaust in here, because it's fairly broad, and I want to make sure that that the exhaust fits. I know the exhaust fits behind this panel, but if I can't push the plate back because the exhaust comes right out there's no use taking a little bit out of the top of the panel. It's just going to have to sit where it sits. So yeah, I'm not going to touch that top bit yet. And as I said, the front will go in once the rubber's on the pin. So yeah, that won't look as bad. You'll see that the front sort of tucked in there. If I let go of that, it sort of pops out. So yeah, if the back's got to hang out a little bit, so be it, But yeah, not too bad. I've just been mucking around with the seat, trying to get those corners a little bit more rounded. I've cut a little bit of extra material off it. I might have left myself a little bit short on one side, so I've cut bits and pieces off it. It definitely needed to have some taken off it. There was too much there, it's too bulky. But yeah, I seem to when it's off the bike, it's okay. You don't get these little ears sticking up. It's got a nice square front, but when I pushed it in underneath the mount on the frame to hold the front bracket in place, I found that it pushed up. It sort of pushed back on the foam, because I've got that rubber strap under there that bolts to the frame and then pulls up onto the tank to hold the back of the tank in place. So maybe I should have taken a little bit more foam out of the seat, but I don't know if you can see that. You can see how that rolls up there. I like that, because that stops you from sort of sliding forward on the seat. So I'm going to leave it. I'll get rid of those. Hopefully those little rabbit ears will just soften up in time. As you can see, I had that, where I folded it, I had that seam there and you could see it, but what I did is I actually moved it. I pulled it further into the center of the tank, and there's no seam on the outside now. It's not a bad match, considering this was a 370 seat and now it's the size of an 80 seat. There's been a lot of material cut out of it, and it's been heated up and bent and moulded and shaped, and you know, it's the foam's all custom made. It's not, you know, like a pre-pressed thing that you can buy aftermarket and put on the pan. So you know, it looks tiny. It really does. It looks so tiny compared to how it used to be. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm sure when, you know, all the red paint goes on it and everything's in the engine and stuff, you know, I don't think your eye's going to be drawn to this too much. As you can see, you know, there's those two pleats at the back, which I said I'd have, but it really doesn't make sense to have cut it here and tried to make up a little tiny panel for there, because half that thickness is rolled anyway. So, you know, I can live with that, and by the time the rear fender goes in, you know, your eye will be drawn away from that anyway. Be more focused on the red colour rather than the black colour. So, yeah, that gives you a little bit of an idea of, you know, its side profile. And yeah, I'm now that it's all fitted up, I'm just blown away by how small the seat is. You know. And that was just through heating and bending and cutting the foam down. I didn't section it at all. I did take those pieces out of the back to clear the frame here. That was about it. But yeah, it's amazing. I never thought I'd be able to reduce the size of something that was built for a 370 down to the size of an 80cc or 100cc seat size. So yeah, goal there. I'm going to keep doing a bit more work, and we'll pick up on where I'm at when I've done something. Two other quick things. I thought I'd just give you a look at how the battery compartment sort of looks with the seat on. So there you go. You know, it's got its own nice little recess there. I tried to bend the plate forward a little bit to contour with the frame. I could bend it more, but it's, you know, it's not worth stuffing around with it. So I'll leave that the way it is. And one of the other things was, you'll remember yesterday I was talking about moving the coil forward again to where it would have been originally mounted on the YZ80. You can see it hanging under here, but it's tucked up well underneath the tank. There's heaps of clearance there, so that's not going to get in the way of anything. Turned out nice that the exhaust support bracket doesn't interfere with the RM tank, so there's heaps of room under there. So yeah, it's going to be a nice clean little modification that, you know, you'd expect to see on any trail bike. It doesn't hang down too far, it's tucked up underneath. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. Okay guys, you can see a little bit better there how I sort of reshaped the plate. So I took a bit off that top edge and sort of tried to keep the contour of the original shape, and then I've used a you know, a file around half moon file to get that shape in around the frame, and just past that half moon, like I haven't touched any of this, had clearance there. So yeah, just skimmed it off the top here a little bit, just a little bit, and then just use the file, and it's come up pretty good. Okay guys, I just fitted up the rear fender as well, which was the first time to do the whole seat fender combination, so I wasn't really sure how it was going to work out. There's two mounting positions here on the back, there's two tabs. Turns out it has to go through the first tab, or the tab further in. So yeah, it's that's all good. I think the angle's not too bad. Like, I'm not exactly sure how the bike's going to sit. I've sort of just leveled it up at the front a little bit, thinking that might be the angle, but you know, it's not That guard's like pretty good. That's not a bad angle for it to be on. I know the later model bikes, they tended to kick more up into the air, but this is, you know, this is like what, 1976, so yeah, not too bad. I'll take that piece of wood out of the front. That gives you a bit more of a sort of forward tilt angle, and that back fender still looks pretty good. So yeah, we're well on our way to getting it all done. So this is just all the, before I paint anything, I'm trial fitting everything, making sure it's all good, because there's no good discovering you've got problems once you've got that all that nice paint on, and then you've got to start grinding and welding and cutting, and yeah, not good. The seat at the back, like, I've got to still tighten these up. These are just nipped up, but you know, if I need a little bit of, that could always sit hard up against the pan. Like, it's not, no one's going to sit on the back of it, so it's not going to flex. But if I need a little bit of clearance, I can drop that, and it doesn't make that much difference. So yeah, it should be all right. The front guard will be the test, because as I mentioned in some earlier videos, this is actually suited for a 250, but it's got a very short back end on it, so there's a possibility that it might work. It just means it's going to sit out further over the front of the tyre. Now, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this, but try and do it. Let's have a look. Where can we prop this up? Might prop it up here. Nah, not a good spot. Maybe up against the lockers here. Let's see if we can do a bit of a trial run on this, guys. So just bear with me. That might be an ideal spot to sit the camera too. So I'm guessing that the forks would sit about there, because, you know, there is a rake on a trail bike. How that looks from the front, I don't know. Let me get more square onto the camera. So I've got a feeling it's going to sit, fender's going to sit about there. So it's going to cover probably about 90% of the rim, the tyre. So it might be alright. Where I'm holding it with my hand, it's very narrow there in that part. It just flares out a lot at the end, and very short back end, so that might work in really well with my modified frame. But yeah, I've got to wait to get the forks and everything reassembled, and yeah, see if it'll all go together. At what stage I do that, I don't know. You know, do I paint up all the frame and then you know, refit all the forks and then try and mount this, because it's only a matter of drilling 4 holes in it, and do it then. And if it fails to do what I need it to do, I've always got the original fender there, and as I said, I can always you know, look at one of those pit bike fenders, which is, they're only worth about $10. So I've got 3 options. Either this one will fit, my old one will fit, which I'll, you know, sand down and prime and paint as well, or I buy a pit bike one hoping the pit bike one will fit. So a lot of the pit bikes have got motors similar to the CT, where the actual head comes forward with the motor. It doesn't go sort of vertical of the engine, so you know that they would have a shorter back end on the guard. So yeah, might pit bike one might work. So yeah, so we'll leave the fender till last. I'm not particularly bothered. I'm going to try and match this colour red. I'm not chasing after Honda paint codes. And if I don't have to paint this one, that's one less component I've got to worry about. You know, less priming, less blah 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 blah. So this will be our paint sample, and yeah, regardless if this fits or not, well, at least the old guard's going to be, you know, I'm going to have paint to paint that anyway, so it'll still colour match this one. Yeah. Alright, enough rambling on for now. I've got to keep that going with some work. Okay guys, I'm just going to fit up some front brake shoes to the front hub. As you can see, I bought some original Yamaha genuine brake shoes. So, you know, it's not rocket science, but, you know, not a lot to it. So, dog mount in there like that, you get 2 springs. Most of you guys that worked around bikes anyway know how this all goes together, so this is for like someone that's maybe buying their first bike and doesn't know how to do it. Now, a bit of a stretch here, so I find the best way to do it is to actually assemble it off the hub like that and pull it apart, and then do the same on this side. Now, I've heard different rumours that, like, I've always done it this way, putting the springs on the same side, but I've heard people say no, you should put one in from the back and one in from the front, and so you should do it. So you've got to sort of get a bit tough with these too, because these are brand new springs. They've never been on a bike before, so I don't know how I'm going to go. They're only tiny, but remember I had that shoulder reconstruction, so I haven't really pulled anything apart at pressure before. So if I scream or whimper, you know why. Alright, here we go. Oh, she's tight. Okay. Oops, nearly there. So just won't probably get it all the way on, but you'll get it close enough. There you go. That's how to fit a set of brake shoes without any brake shoe tools. It's not difficult. So anybody doing you know, restoring a bike for the first time, that's how you do it, guys. Very simple. Another thing I was going to do, guys, which I mentioned I would, was I was going to clean up all these spokes that I got overspray on. Now I've just done this one here. Now it's not going to be perfect, and you know, you got to. Jeez, you didn't see a thing then, did you? Yeah, this one I cleaned up, and you know, like I said, this bike's no masterpiece, so I'm going to get it as close as I can. I don't want to end up taking paint off the hub, and no doubt before I shut the video off I most likely will, but you know, I am going to say close enough is good enough on this. You know, the part of the spoke that sits over the hub, over the black part of the hub, well, whoopie-doo, are you really going to notice it? All it's going to do is blend in with the hub. So, and a lot of these spokes, I can get these really clean if I use a little bit of steel wool, but it's a long, tedious process going around each spoke, having to clean each one up, and you know, sometimes you just you know, like I'm just giving that one a little bit of a hard wipe, and that's already starting to, you know, it's starting to look clean. Let's have a go at this one. You know, if it's that easy, I'll give it a go. Yeah, I think I can get them. I think I can get them pretty clean. So we'll get stuck onto this spoke here. That's an inside one, so it's going to be a little harder to get into, but you know, we'll get there. We'll get there. So, but yeah, it'll look nicer. Although you won't notice a big difference, you'll notice a little bit of a difference. At least no one will pick on me for having overspray on the spokes. So I'm going to shut it off here, guys, and I'm going to just keep going with this, and I'll show you what the end result is. Okay guys, I got most of the paint off the spokes, and I've given the wheel, the actual rim itself, a little bit of a polish with some just some of this Eagle One whiting polish. So basically it's basically like cotton wool dipped in brasso or silvo, and I've gone over that and got as much of that rust residue off it as I could, and this is as good as it's going to get. It's not going to get any better. The wheel's 40 years old, so what I did is I wiped it down with some prep wash, and now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just use that crystal clear acrylic lacquer on the actual rim itself, just to prevent water getting back onto those rust spots and yeah, causing any more rust. So I've never done this before, but I've started doing some of the chrome work on the Hunter as a trial, like nuts and bolts that I've cleaned the rust off. I've just cleared them, and obviously I haven't had any time to test them, and it's going to take a good 12 months of riding it in all weather conditions to know whether it's going to rust again. But I figure I've got nothing to lose. I've got a can of this spray, so why not give it a go? Might work good. So again, I'm not worried if I get it over the tyre, because I can always get it off with some thinners. But here goes. Wish me luck. So it won't be so much the spokes that the spokes won't get coated. If I could have polished them all up, I probably would have done them. But you know, that's not going to happen because I didn't dismantle the wheels. So there we go, guys. That's, you know, this is an attempt to try and just stop a little bit of rust on the rim itself, just try and stop some corrosion. I don't know if it'll work. If it works, good. If it doesn't, I've lost nothing. And yeah, you can say it's another one of my hack jobs. Big deal, you know. I thought I was going to get that DS back wheel until I worked out that it was only a 12-inch rim, and I needed it to be a 15. I thought it was a 15. I would have even settled on a 14. But yeah, 12, it's just too small. It's equivalent to like a 60cc wheel, and it just wouldn't have looked right on the bike. Would have looked really funny. So that's why I didn't buy the DS one. If any of you were wondering why I don't have it, and I didn't you know, I didn't buy it and I didn't fit it, it's simply because it turned out to be 12-inch. I wasn't aware that the DS's were basically just, even though it was a DS80, they're actually a tiny version. Okay, yeah. So so yeah, we're just going to make do with this one. We've got all the brakes set up for this now, so that's all good. As you can see, I've just wiped some of that lacquer off just with a cloth so far. sort of trying to stay behind the rim, so I don't take it off the surface. You know, whether it, like I said, whether it works or not, it doesn't matter. You've got to give things a go to know if it's going to work. And yeah, I figure some protection's better than no protection, and even if it only lasts 12 months, that's good. If it starts to show signs of rusting up again, all I'll do is I'll just wipe the wheel down with some thinners, which will remove the clear lacquer. Give it a polish and then clear it again. But yeah, I'm not particularly fussed. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Another thing I'm doing at the moment, guys, which I mentioned I was going to do before, was give these handlebars a little bit of a clean up. So yeah, just around there we had a little bit of rust. I think the rust more or less came from the actual the mounts rather than the actual bars being rusted. And it just left the film on there. So yeah, I just give it a bit of a clean up with some steel wool. Just go over it quickly. Look, even red paint on there. Jeez, when I last painted it, I really went to town with that red paint, you know. But yeah, as a 15-year-old, you know, I only pulled certain parts off the bike and left most of it intact because I didn't know what I was doing. I was afraid that if I couldn't get it back together, I wouldn't have a trail bike to ride, and my dad wouldn't have known how to put it back together. So yeah, you know, now that I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and been around bikes for, you know, nearly 40 years, I know how to do this stuff. So got a bit of prep wash on this rag. Just keep going over it with some prep wash. Get all the grime and stuff off it. Again, on the XRs, the handlebars were black. These are chrome. I do love chrome. And you know, yes, these would probably look better if they were painted black, but you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm sort of quite happy to keep them chrome for now. This will probably work a lot better if the steel wool was wet, but you know, if I need some lubrication, I've got the prep wash anyway. So that'll serve as a double, so yeah, it'll do a double job. So this is just the initial clean down. If I wanted, I could get the buff on it and you know, give it a good buff. I might get some scratches out of it, but you know, half the bars are covered with hand grips and throttles and levers and things like that, so there's not a lot to see on it, really. And I believe that the 83 XRs didn't actually run a handlebar pad, but I'm still to confirm that, so I don't really know. But yeah, if I wanted to, I could always put a pad on there, and that will cover that crossbar up. So yeah, I'm going to leave them chrome. So I'm pretty happy with that. So at least all the grime's off them, you know. So yeah, I can start fitting up hand grips now and other bits and pieces, the throttle and yeah, we start putting it together. So I'm gonna go do that and show you what I come up with. Okay guys, one other thing I'm going to do is on this kill switch here, it's got a couple of, it would have had some decals. So there was a little square there where there might have been something. This spot here was, if I remember rightly, was either white or red, and there's another decal there. Well, I know what the switch does, so what I'm going to do is this little one under the switch, I'm just going to paint it red. Now I picked up some of these touch-up pens back in the day when I was working in the auto spare parts industry. They were basically getting rid of this brand and bringing in another brand, so I grabbed it. So I kept them. They're not great, they've dried out. I've had them nearly 20 years, but they're still wet enough to do this. So either I'm going to cock it up or it's going to come up alright, so just bear with me guys. It's nice, the brush fits inside it. I've just got to be trying to make it, I get coverage in there. I don't want it to, you know, I don't want to be like a kid and colour outside the lines, because if I colour outside the lines, you're really going to notice it. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but that's all I had to do. You know, that's just another thing that I picked these up when they were going to be thrown out in the trash, and everybody said, "Oh, what are you taking them home for? You're just a scavenger." It's like, oh, shit. How did I know 20 years later I was going to use it? It's coming good for doing stuff like that. And you know, I've got some silver, and I've got some like what's this one? This one's a sapphire blue. The white's a Mazda Dover white. I've got another red one here that's a Maranello red. The one I just used was a Rouge red of a Toyota. That silver's Mitsubishi Mercury silver. Don't know how close it is to the white. No, I think it's a little bit darker, but let's have a look at it. Nah, I think that's past its use by date, this one. It just looks like it's clear. Might need to shake up though, you know. These things have been sealed for 20 years. You're just doing little touch-ups on bolts and things. Oh, there we go. So we got some silver. There you go. Just need a little shake up. So yeah, I kept them and they've come in handy. Now, is there anything else I could paint on there that? No, I think for this I just need, if I want to get real technical, just an on-off switch, sticker, decal. But I'm not sure if it goes onto the side or it goes onto the bottom. But yeah, that'll do me. I know what it does, and yeah. Okay, guys, I'm just going to fit up the hand grips and the new handbrake lever. Now, what I normally do with all hand grips, especially at this stage, because if I need to take it off to adjust anything, it's extremely hard to get them off once they're on, so I just spray a bit of WD-40 in there, make it nice and slippery. It'll go on. And you know, once I got everything set up, I can always you know, easily slide these off. And as you can see, you know, they come off. Yeah, I've always found that's the best way to do it. Like if you want to, you know, you want the brand name facing up, so you know, it's easy to twist that to there. You know, you get all your handbrake and everything sort of tightened up. Should have a spanner here for that. No, it's actually smaller. It's going to be an 8mm, I think. So, what do I want? 8mm. There we go. I'll just snip these up a little bit. Just move that out of the way. So, I like that sort of. I like a little bit of layback on the bars. I don't like them to be sort of like too up. So I'm just got to, like, all this can be repositioned once the bars are on the head stem, but for now, just roughly do it, get it all together, you know, lift these up. I won't even do these up too tight yet. Okay, outside's telling me that it's tight enough. Yeah, that looks about right. So again, skirt some of this stuff in, and I might put a little bit on this too. It's always harder on the throttle sled. They do make them a mil bigger or something for the throttle, but yeah. Now with this one, obviously, I've got to leave it sitting back a little bit from there, because we've got to put the housing on. So I'll grab the housing. And a screwdriver, of course. Now this will all need to come apart when my mate Paul wires up the kill switch again for me, but we'll do that at the time. So we get that out, and this one's out, so we'll be able to take that apart now. There we go. Now just so I don't get WD-40 over everything, I just give that a little bit of a wipe down, eh? Yeah. What I need to do is I need to get my cable. Get my cable here. I need to wind that back into the housing. Need to feed the cable in there. Screw this up. Okay, so what I need those pliers. We can actually feed some of the cable back in from this end, which will help a little bit to grab this. A little bit awkward. There's other ways of doing it, but yeah, it's cool. You can do it this way. So there we go. There's our cable. Now that slides in through there like that, and down, and then into this housing. Now I've just got to work out, guys. Whoops, slipped out. Just got to work out actually which way it goes in. It might be that way, I think. That's better. So we'll pop this back on. Which goes that way. Not the other way I was putting it on. I think that's right. Just make sure. Okay guys, I got it. What I needed to do was once this housing was on, see it doesn't want to clip down. I just need to give it like a quarter rotation. I just need to get a quarter rotation in there, and everything sort of has come up alright now. So I'll get these screws in. As you can see, I've got good return on that. Now I'll back that off a little bit. So I'll slide those over the bars. Slide it over the bars. God, my English is bad for having grown up in an English country. It's called getting lazy with your speech. So, okay. We'll need to do some adjustments here on the cable, but just get that up out of the way, take a little bit of that force off it. Now, screwdriver. Now the actual plastic throttle piece did actually break one time. I hit a tree, clipped the tree with the handlebars as I was trying to cut through a pathway, and I broke a little bit off it, so it is going to be a little short. So that, you know, doesn't matter though. It's not a biggie. So yeah, I just got to get this right. But again, we'll, oops, pulling all of it off. Here we go. Just want to put some more CRC in there. Like I said, I can wash all this off later, but when it's dripping out, you know you got enough. So we'll get this on, get that hand grip rotated into the right position. Okay, there we go. So I've got to keep pushing that back to compensate for the Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. So handlebars there. Yeah, I think that's about the right angle. Just lift those up. As I said, all the final adjustments can be done when the bike's back together. Oh, God, you guys wouldn't have seen anything then. My camera work, eh? Legendary stuff. Legendary stuff. So, this is a little tight. Guys, because silly me adjusted it out and I painted the thread. So, but yeah, it's screwing, like I'm screwing it back in with my fingers. So there we go. I'll tighten all that up when it's back on the bike. Put a little boot on the end, and yeah, we're starting to get the bars set up now. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. Look, I paid stuff all for this stuff that's on the bars. The hand lever, I paid bugger all for that, and the hand grips. Didn't pay a lot of money for them. Local motorbike shop, I think the cheapest set they got there is about $15. I didn't even pay that for these. I think I paid about $6 or something. They're perfect. They got smaller like a flange on the end, which is good. I never liked the big flanges. They always got in the way, and they always seem to get like a chunk ripped off the top of them or something like that. These ones sit pretty good. They sit with, sort of level with the housing. So there's another job that I've done. It's not much, but it's it's a start. It's a start on something else. So we can sort of put that inside the house now, and that can sit around until we're ready to mount it to the forks. One of the things, guys, that I was talking about in the vids the other day was I was trying to get from trying to source from Yamaha City. It's like a little wire keeper that sort of goes around here, and then it has a loop on the end for the handbrake cable. It's basically a cable guide. Well, City Yamaha only showed one in stock, which is pretty impressive seeing it's a 1976 model, but when I went out and checked for it, it wasn't there. So I'm going to make one of these myself. I'm going to get some I don't know what I'm going to use, probably just some normal steel coat hanger wire, and just like bend a loop in that end, come round, bend a loop in that, come out, and then bend a loop that way, and make my own. And I've got to make one as well for the Hunter. As I was explaining, the Hunter needs one here to mount off the adjuster, just to hold that cable out. So I'll get a nice straight coat hanger, and I'll use that. And it's basically like resembles these things here, these keepers, these things. So that's what I'm going to make. I'll just paint them up black, and it'll all be good. I cleaned all the forks, as you remember. I paint stripped them all. There's still like a lot of grime and stuff in there. They haven't been degreased or anything. I know the fork oil in them is good. I will replace it though. I've still got the original bottle that I bought, God, I don't know how long ago, 15 years ago. When I redid the forks, I pulled everything. There's a lot of water in them too. A lot of water in it. So yeah, I pumped all that stuff out. But the bike hasn't been ridden enough for there to be water and stuff in here. And I did put new fork seals in it. So basically, I did like a real poor man's recondition of the forks. Got a little bit of rust here, but no oil leaks past that. I think just because of the fact that I put new seals in there. They were nice and tight, so it compensated for that little bit of chrome that was missing there. This one's in pretty good nick all round. So, and there's like a little bit of wear there, but the seals do a magnificent job. You know, these aren't anything spectacular either. They do, you know, they've got signs of rust on them, but yeah, you know, they are what they are. But as you can see there, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see the difference? Like, I've just wiped that down. This rag's got a little bit of prep wash on it, and it's just removing the grime. Now, if I give them a really good polish, if I get some cutting compound and give them a good polish, and then say hit them with some clear lacquer, they're going to look great. They're going to look, you know, like the day they came out of Yamaha, or close to it. You know, it's got little nicks and stuff in it. So, but you know, you get what I'm saying. This is a cheap rebuild, which is turning into an expensive one. But God help me if I ever went and sourced all this stuff brand new. Like, these days, it'd be just to buy all the parts to restore it would be worth more than what the bike was worth in 1976. So, as you can see on the rag, it's just like, you know, lots of residue, lots of brown soil from having this bike being up to the bush, you know, and maybe some rust. You know, just very fine surface rust that's not even showing up on here as rust, but yeah, prep wash is great and gets a lot of it off. The other thing I could do, like, I always like the shocks without those boots on them, and those boots, if they're new, they're good, but once they get a crack in them, if you don't detect the crack straight away, those things fill up with water, and once they fill up with water, that's what causes the rust on the forks. So with most of the bikes I've had, I've usually ditched them. I won't use them, and yeah, it's my rust preventative measure. But yeah, as your forks get older, the shine on the chrome sort of fades, you get a few scratches, you might get a little bit of pitting, because chrome will, you know, doesn't matter how well you look after it, it will eventually, it's only got a lifespan, you know, a certain lifespan before it starts to sort of break down like anything. And yeah, it's you know, it's going to get a little bit grotty. Now these two bolts here, what I managed to find in my can of bolts, I pulled all these off a Ford Festiva and I've stripped it out. Now a lot of the components, as you'd know if you follow my Studebaker build series, you know, I've used a lot of the Ford Festiva stuff on the Studebaker, and I made sure before that car was picked up by the salvage yard that I stripped every single nut and bolt off that thing, and it's been great because they're all, you know, all the bolts are metric on them, being a car that was made in Korea, and yeah, it's been such a handy thing to have all those bolts. And I do that with most cars that I wreck. I used to have a 94 Falcon, and I crunched the front end on that, and it involved in a three-car accident, which strangely enough was none of our fault. A car come from the far lane on a 4-lane road and basically just drove horizontally across our path, and we all hit the brakes, and it was bang, 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 and the car that cut across never got hit. They just continued on their way like nothing happened. They didn't even probably realise that they just caused a 3-car collision. So I ended up buying another car in the same colour because I was going to repair this wagon myself. I had full comprehensive insurance, and they actually paid me out for it, and I bought the car back off them for $300 because I'd just done a shitload of work to it, and it had a lot of new mechanical parts in it, new battery and alternator, and all the uni joints had been done in it, and the transmission mount, and you name it, it had been done. And it was on gas, so I just decided to buy another unregistered 94 Falcon sedan. Mine was a wagon, and I just took the front off it. And rebuilt the front. So I think the car was insured for $4,000. I had to pay the excess because I hit the lady that I hit, even though it wasn't our fault. We still all had to pay excess, but no one was held at fault for it. Yeah, so I paid the excess from the $4,000, which was I think $500 or something like that, and then I bought the car back for $300, and then they paid me out $3,300, and I went and bought this other car, this sedan, for $400, and and I did a majority of the work, and when I mean a majority, I reckon I did about 90% of the work on it myself. A friend of mine who was a panel beater had a proper spot welder, because I had to unpick a section of the engine bay and cut through the radiator support panel, and he just spotted it all up for me. And then once that was all spotted up, we just sort of blew over that section inside the engine bay with some paint, obviously, because we had to grind it back to weld it. And then I brought the car home and reassembled it, and come up beautiful. The car come up beautiful. And then I rang the insurance company and I said, "Would you reinsure my station wagon?" They said, "What, have you fixed it?" I said, "Yeah," because they only wrote it off as a financial write-off. I know there's another phrase for it, but I can't think what it is. But yeah, just due to money. The repairs was worth more than what the car was worth, obviously. So I sent them photos, and I said, "You're more than welcome to send out an assessor to come and inspect the car." And they looked at the photos and they said, "It looks incredible. Yeah, no problem, we'll reinsure the same car we just wrote off." So that was great. But yeah, thought I'd throw that little story in there. So yeah, all the nuts and bolts, you know, that had come off that wagon and that Festiva a couple of years later have basically given me a bolt supply for the last 8 years. So yeah, very happy camper. Alright guys, I'm going to leave it here because I've got to go and spray these 2 bolts, and I'll probably find something else to film as we go along. Okay everyone, I've sort of got the back wheel partly assembled. As I've explained to you before, you know, I had to do a modification on it using the what I believe is the KTM back sprocket as an adapter for the XR100 sprocket. And yeah, I do have another sprocket. I have a brand new sprocket which I could cut out and make it look really pretty, but you don't see any of this when it sits behind the swing arm. So I'm just going to stay with what I know has worked for the last 30 years. The teeth are still good on it, so it's not worth throwing the sprocket out. But I've cleared that rim, and it actually looks good. It looks good. I've cleaned up, as I said, I cleaned up the spokes. So the next thing we got to do is we just got to do this. We've got to tighten up the nuts in the back there, but I'm not going to do them yet because I want to play around with the brakes when the brake shoes turn up from wherever they're coming from, Hong Kong, I think. And I wanted to sort of, you know, I don't want to be laying this down on the sprocket and scratching it all up and everything because I ran out of that silver paint. So yeah, but we're getting there, and I got the still letting that dry off a little bit, still a little bit tacky, and I got the front wheel assembled too. So hang on, I'll bring this around here because there's more light. Look. Clean up after yourself. You'll go tripping. So yeah, this rim was in really good condition for a 40-year-old rim. There's no real bad rust spots on it. So you know, the hub's in now with the brake shoes, and it's a nice firm fit, which is good. And all the other little bits and pieces are in on that side, so that wheel's ready to fit up. There's no more to do on that. That's one little job finished. And since I replaced the valve stem in that tyre's stayed up for me. So there's the back hub. We're just waiting on the brake shoes now, and yeah, they should be here in the next week, I'm guessing, because they're pretty good out of China and Hong Kong. They get it out to you quick, really quick, faster than some Australian distributors. It's incredible. I don't know how they do it. Good postage system over there, but yeah, we're just waiting on those brake pads to turn up. I think I ended up getting them for $6.70 delivered. How can you argue with that? It's like if you fuck it up, you can't go wrong, you know. You haven't lost anything, and at least you know, for next time, or even now, if it works out, order a spare set, keep a spare set for when you might need them in a few years' time. So yeah, just waiting on those to turn up, and yeah, all good.